How's it going, guys? It's Pride here, and today we're going to be talking about Dragon Ball Daima's latest episode, episode 19, Betrayal. Now, obviously, a crap ton of spoilers, so just to get that out the way. Now, there are a lot of things to talk about just off of this episode by itself. It's pretty peak, and I'm going to say probably the best episode so far of Dragon Ball Daima. Period, at least in my opinion. And the first thing I think we should talk about is the animation. The animation was amazing, stunning even. It was like, being a One Piece fan and like every time you see Luffy go against Kaido or something along those lines, it was pretty much up there with that type of animation. Groundbreaking. And the main reason that the animation really popped off so hard is because we finally got to the point where the gang now has their original bodies back. And this means a lot of things. We can now talk about the power scaling because we now have comparisons. We can now talk about how weak everyone truly was while they were younger and what they are now capable of now that they're in their original and true forms. So first things first is it was pretty much widely known that while these guys were transformed into kids, they were significantly weaker than their original selves, but no one knew exactly how much weaker, and that's why a lot of the fights that people have seen were judged a little harshly because no one knew why they were struggling as bad as they were against, let's be honest here, a bunch of grunts, when we should have expected them to at least be strong enough to, like, I don't know, fight first form Cell, second form Cell, anybody in the Cell Saga, really. I was at least expecting that. However, now that we have an actual comparison, I'm confident to say that they were way weaker than what everyone thought. And the reason I'm confident in saying this is because we have the comparison of the fight with Goma when they were kids and now when they're adults. When they were kids, they were fighting Goma and, pretty much struggling the entire time. They were all ganging up on him. Goku had to transform multiple times just to, hurt the guy. And it wasn't really doing anything. And even when Goku was transformed in Super Saiyan 4, everyone still had to gang up on him and it still seemed like it wasn't doing anything. Now, to be fair, Goma was actively getting stronger after every exchange. Every time he was getting put on the back foot, the eye was basically empowering him more and more. Pretty much anytime he sustained any significant amount of damage. So throughout the entire fight, he was steadily getting stronger, and that's why it just felt like they weren't doing anything because he just kept empowering himself. However, the second they became adults again, that kind of stopped. Kind of didn't, but kind of did. At least in the first half. Vegeta starts off the fight, and he started beating Goma senseless. And again, we have to remember that this is Goma that has just gotten a major power boost after fighting young Super Saiyan 4 Goku, which should be an insane powerful adversary, right? But yet Vegeta in his base form is able to fight Goma. And even Goku, once he got his adult body again, even looks at Goma and is just like, okay, we can now fight individually. But when he was a kid, he looked at Goma and was like, all right, we have to fight together. A major difference that Goku truly knew where their power levels were at in comparison to Goma and knew that they didn't have a chance individually while they're in their child state. But now they're adults, Goku's like, oh yeah, we got it. Easy, no problem. And that's kind of insane. Like, that's a pretty huge power difference. That's not a power difference of I lost half my power. That's like a power difference of like I'm at like weakness, like 1/8 of a percent or something like that. Or to put it in even better terms, it's like Goku from the Buu saga to Goku in the Frieza saga. That's the amount of weakness in a way that can only make sense. Now you might be thinking that's too much, but Goku transformed like 4 times and still couldn't do nothing, and they ganged the man when they were children. Now they're adults and they're just like, man, we don't even really need to transform for real. We could just do that just to, pose on him a little bit, which is exactly what Vegeta does with those insane kicks that we now know Vegeta inherit those kicks from Vegeta's side of the fusion. Then we head into the next part of the territory where Goku kind of shows his intelligence. Like he's analyzing the fight a lot. A lot of people, especially from Super, which I'm going to be honest, I wasn't a fan of this either. Super pretty much left a bad taste in everyone's mouth when it came to Goku's intelligence. Real Dragon Ball fans know from Dragon Ball Z and even Dragon Ball that Goku might be naive, he might not be book smart, but this dude was smart in his own way. And we're seeing this a lot in this episode. And it's another thing that I like about this episode is the clarification all around. But enough of being sidetracked. Goku's intelligence is being displayed the way he analyzed Goma, and is talking shop with Piccolo and realizing that they can't really fight him as Goma is continuously fighting and not showing signs of exhaustion, while Goku admits that he is getting tired. Like, even though he got his body back, he's still tired. He looks fine, but he doesn't feel fine, and he knows this. He acknowledged this, and he knows that if things keep going as it is now, they just not gonna be able to win. Like, this is no longer a fun fight. This is just like, we're gonna lose no matter what we do at this point because Goma's cheating, right? So that's like one part of like Goku showing his intelligence. The next part of Goku showing his intelligence is more of a subtle thing. When Glorio comes back and he hesitates in front of the gang because he basically betrayed them, but then he became a double agent, basically, and helped them out towards the end, but he still felt like a betrayer. And then Goku calls Glorio by his actual name, and that's when Glorio realizes that this is the first time that Goku has actually announced his name seriously and correctly, with Goku just laughing it off. Now, I personally am taking this as Goku always knew that there was something up with Glorio, and he knew that Glorio inherently wasn't a bad guy because Goku has good senses when it comes to these things, but he also knew that Glorio wasn't playing them correctly. And to be honest, pretty much everyone knew this, but Goku was hiding this pretty well behind his mask of being, naive and just really childlike, just him being him, really. So everyone just thought that Goku was the only person that wasn't in the know that Glorio is weird. However, this exchange right here pretty much tells me that he knew the entire time, but he didn't hate Glorio for it. However, he didn't mind playing with Glorio. Really, just a fun way to get at him, because he knew that Glorio, at the end of the day, probably wouldn't mess up their plans too much because, again, completely confident he can take them even as a kid, which, as we already stated, Goku was like Frieza Saga level of strength is what it feels like. Second to last thing I want to talk about is Super Saiyan 4 as it stands. Not only do we know that that's canon, we now know that that's the natural easy progression of their evolution because Goku calls it Super Saiyan 4. Now this is a big deal because that means he doesn't need Never to enter that state again. This pretty much, again, this entire show should just be called Clarity at this point because this clears up a lot of things, at least to me anyway. Because for him to be able to transform into it again and for him to automatically dub it Super Saiyan 4, meaning a transformation that he could most likely get back into anytime he wants, so he doesn't need the help of the Namekian anymore, tells me that this transformation isn't a one-off thing and that Goku should always have this. And not only that, Vegeta should be able to accomplish this transformation too, the same way that Vegeta eventually got Super Saiyan God. Now, this is pretty important because we're now in the continuity talk yet again. I made multiple videos about this, but basically the only way this can make sense is if they're in a different continuity. This is the DC hitting the reset button. This is the Star Wars going to Disney, Wolverine becoming old man Logan, like this is what's happening here. So we just gotta admit that I mean, at this point, there's no other way to think about it. A lot of people will be like, well, it could just be canon. I'm like, well, yeah, it is canon. And that's the thing, is it's now canon, but Dragon Ball Super was also canon. However, Dragon Ball Super doesn't have Super Saiyan 4, and there is zero indication that there was ever a Super Saiyan 4. And the reason we really know this, now I can talk about how he didn't do it against spirits all day. He straight up showed the Saiyans of Universe 6 all of the transformations that is possible to them besides the God transformation. The transformations that you can't naturally get into unless you have God Ki. He showed them all of that, all the way up to Super Saiyan 3, even assuming that they could probably be the ones to master this transformation. So we just gotta call a spade and just say Dragon Ball Daima, this episode has no choice but has clarified it is a different continuity, because there's literally no way that Super Saiyan 4 is canon to Dragon Ball Super. It's like none now, especially now that Dragon Ball Super is coming back with the manga. This is now really a different continuity, but the manga is already different than the anime. So there's another example of different continuities if we really want to get technical with that. But that's the end of that spiel for Super Saiyan 4. Still love it though, and I think it looks pretty cool, and I mostly just like the red color scheme. I'm not gonna lie to you, red's my favorite color, so look, they pretty much won me over with that. But now to the last thing I want to talk about, and that is the progression arc of Vegeta. This dude is beyond whip. This man went from a terrorist, monster, world-destroying, bloodlust savage of a Saiyan to someone that loves Bay unconditionally. This dude, throughout this entire arc of Daima, we straight up see that Vegeta would do anything for Bulma. Like, he would play around with his opponents just to, show off his, cool fighting style, when we clearly know that he can just beat these guys with no problem. He's just like, I'm just gonna fight a little bit. I'm gonna show her a thing or two. This man refused to eat bugs in front of her, openly saying that he's changed, even though when Goku reminds him that this dude has not only eaten bugs before, this dude has eaten other people before. Yeah, there's like images out there. You can look it up now, and I might put it on the screen. Who knows? There's images out there where he just is eating other aliens, which is why I say people, because he's an alien himself, and to him, Boma's an alien, and this dude's just eating people, and yet he don't want to eat a bug anymore because Boma is right there looking at it. And then we get to the final part of this episode where this dude would rather die than give up a fight that he knows he can't win because the enemy's cheating. And Boma just taunts him with the fact that he's gonna miss out on those special bath time moments with her. And this dude immediately folds. Like, no hesitation. He don't care if it's in front of everybody. Folds. And that's like the last thing I want to talk about. This episode was crazy. 10 out of 10 for me. And even with the spoilers, even if you saw the episode, it's worth a rewatch at this point. But that's all for me. And I see you guys on the flip side. Like, comment, share, subscribe. You know the deal. Join the membership. We're going to put some new things out there. So, join the membership. Join Patreon even. We're getting a lot of new things on both of those subscriptions. So stay tuned. Join the stuff. And I'll see you guys later. Peace.